Okay, we're going to take quite a simple example today of how an individual might open a pension scheme and simulate that through the pension school model. So here we've got a young man called James. At the moment, the model's got him set up as 31 years old. What I'm going to do is just edit his details and make this a slightly younger man. So we're going to make him there about 23 years old. I'm also going to make it a bit more realistic, put in an estimate of how many years national insurance contributions and what his state second pension band earnings might be to date, given his current salary. So as you see there, just click that button and that automatically populates those fields with a sensible estimate of roughly what those numbers might be. So if I select OK there, and I want the retirement dates updated for the job as well. So now I'm going to save that. I'm just going to save it as the same file, James there, and you can see a little disk there to show that I've saved this file. So what we're going to do now is look at joining our work pension scheme. If you look at the items we've got there, you can see there's no pension scheme contribution at the moment. So I'm going to right click work and join defined contribution pension scheme. So I'm going to set up a personal pension wrapper and define investment strategy, and we're going to do it with a simple equity bond split. We can put in all sorts of different assets, but here we're just going to set up a simple equity bond split and continue to the next stage. So this allows me to define really what my investment strategy is, which depends on how aggressive I want to be, how optimistic I am about equity markets, how long I've got to go to retirement, and that kind of thing. So my rebalancing strategy, I'm going to leave it rebalance fund by selling assets to target a given strategy. That's quite a normal, sensible thing to do, and that rebalancing is going to take place once a quarter. Now the fees here, for this fund, I'm going to enter in fees of a 5% bid offer spread and a 1.5% annual management charge. I'm going to take the annual fee down to 0. It depends on what the actual fees are in your own pension scheme, but that's typical, if perhaps slightly on the high side. Then the important thing down here is to look at the asset allocation I'm going to target. Now, being fairly young, as you can see here, 23 years old, we're going to go for an aggressive strategy, hoping to target high growth. So in the end, we'll have a better pension and hopefully need to put less in it to get that better pension. So I'm going to put bond fund down to 20% there, and the generic equity fund to 80%, and select OK. So now I've got to set up how I'm going to make my contributions to the scheme. I'm going to select this as my work DC scheme with regular contributions from employer and me. So select that. I get a choice of all the different jobs I've got. I've got several different jobs, but in this case we've just got the one job. And now we can enter in what the employer and employee rate is. Now typically your employer will decide what rate they're going to contribute, and then it's up to you what rate you contribute on top of that. So in this situation, we're going to put in a fairly modest 6% employee rate. We're going to leave the employer rate at 4%, assuming that's what the employer is putting into the scheme. So I select OK there, and if I look down here, I can see my work DC contribution there, £200 a month. Just click on month to check that is monthly. Yep, that's £200 a month. And if I select here, you can see work there. I've got my £30,330 net income, and my work DC scheme currently has nothing in it by display as value, but I haven't started contributing yet. You'll also notice, if you've been watching closely, that my net income has actually increased. That's because by putting work into my DC scheme, I'm actually getting a greater net income because that is taken out before tax. So my net income actually increases, and this DC contribution here is the gross amount, because pension contributions are made gross. So let's look now what happens if we allow time to move along. I'm just going to do a save of this. I'll call that DC pension, so we've got it ready if we want to go back to that stage again. And I'm going to allow time to move along. Now really, to see what's going on, I want to be able to look at work DC as the actual amount of assets in there rather than as income. So I'm going to put display as value, and you can see now we've reached year 2014. So we're and the 2.5 years into the future, and we've got £9,875 in our scheme. So let's continue running that and see where we get to. You'll notice here, as we've noticed in previous tutorials, that I've got a fritter away item there, assuming that any spare cash you would just naturally spend rather than save, and it's quite a significant amount of money that we're typically spending there. So 67% of the time we're spending that, the full amount of that, and I'll just look at what that is. So on average we're spending £46 a day, which we're just wasting because we've got the money to fritter away. So what we could do is now go back into our DC scheme and increase our contributions. So I'm going to increase that to 8% now. And select OK. That, you can see, increases there. It's now gone up to £416, and let's carry on running that for a bit and see where we get to. So if we stop now, age 40, year 2029, what I'm going to look at is, if I step forward a few months, I come to September, my personal financial advisor is giving me an annual pension review, so I can select that and see what this advisor is saying, and it just goes through a very simple breakdown of your circumstances. So you've got total savings of minus £405. That was as at the point when this email was written, the 1st of September, plus 265,000 in tax approved pension schemes. So we look there, which now gone up to 270,000 because of investment returns and extra contributions. We've got no entitlement to defined benefit pension schemes. There's a pension from the state which we are expecting to provide 16,000 if we continue to accrue national insurance. And annual expenditure is currently 68,000, and this will change to 61,000 in retirement due to different spending patterns. So that's, for example, transport to work and that sort of thing. So it's calculated we need another 235,000 to buy an annuity at retirement, which is sufficient to meet this 61,000. And in order to get this fund at approximately age 65, we'll need to save another £897 per month, increasing with inflation. This will equate to a pension contribution of £13.58. Okay, and we're currently saving at a rate of 12%. Sorry, contribution of 13.58% of the salary, and we're currently saving at 12%. So we need to save slightly more according to this. Now what I'm going to do is just look at what we're actually doing here, and the work DC you can see here is £536.28, and it's saying we need to save 897. Well, that seems like an awful lot more, but don't forget we've got a 4% employer contribution on top of our 6% employee contribution. So all I need to do is save an extra 1.5% here, and that should be adequate according to this financial review. So I'm going to select change savings into workplace pension scheme, and I'm going to increase the employee rate to 10%. So that should now be perfectly adequate. And let's carry on running the model forward. And we reached age 68. We've reached our retirement age. You can see date of birth is 1st July 1988, and we're now 1st of July 2056. So assuming retirement age for this gentleman is 68 years old, which hopefully it won't keep going up, but it may be higher than that by the time he does retire. But at the moment the plan is for that to be age 68. So we're going to draw our state pension now of £47,000, and then we look at our pension from the work scheme. You've reached your expected retirement leaving date from work. Do you wish to leave this job now and start drawing pensions? Yes. Are you now actively seeking work? No. That's for job seekers allowance benefits. And what we're going to do in this case is, we've only got 8,000 in savings, so we're going to take 25% of our pension pot as a tax-free lump sum. So I select that, and we're going to select an annuity increasing with RPI. Now it's telling us here an income of £1 per year on this annuity will cost £15.16. So that's increasing with RPI, and we're now 68 years old. So that's roughly what that annuity is going to cost, as we have 2.6 million in the pension pot, we're taking a quarter of that, 654,000. This will leave a pension of 129,000. Now if you look here, that we're spending typically 113,000 a year, so that looks perfectly adequate. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. And if I look at display as income, I've got my annuity, which is 101,000 net, state pension of 46,000. I've got enough in my current account now because of my lump sum. There's 670,000 lump sum with base rates at 5.75%. So that's giving me an income of 28,000 a year. So my total income, total net income, is 176,000 a year, and I'm spending 113,000 a year typically. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove this fritter away item, because that will fritter away all that cash in the current account and allow the model to run forward. And you can see obviously this pie chart is bigger than this pie chart, and that basically means that my current account is going to build up with money, and I've got plenty of money, so I've saved adequately for my retirement. So that gives you an idea of how this model works, and allows you to produce a prediction of the sort of money you're going to need to save for your retirement, and the sort of retirement you can expect to have.